Some of the content covered may be graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely it's really
Just, I love stories like this because it's
someone scared to death.
Yeah,
that's a real thing.
Just
there are countless stories bad enough.
people that you shouldn't fuck with.
Right, and the JFK assassination limo.
Real.
From the Steak on the Lake and the Great American Rust Belt. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. This is Type 3 TV. I'm your host, John Baczynski, alongside Dan Rady.
What's up?
There you go, a little quicker than last week, then.
Was that better for you? Good.
Yes, and Steve Buddha Gibson.
What's up?
There you go. Gentlemen, how was your week?
Fabulous.
Fantastic. Better than Dan's.
I will tell you,
I'm sure it was.
Mine was not that good. I'm just going to say that outright. So, actually, last Thursday, before our last show, I had gotten like this weird thing in my eye, and my eye kept watering. Well, by Friday evening, Saturday morning, my eye was like in a lot of pain and really sensitive to light. And I thought, oh my God, do I have pink eye or an eye infection? So, I was kind of worried. And then Sunday, it felt a little better, but then Monday, oh my God, anytime I looked at the light, it was like someone basically was sticking a needle in it. So, long story short, I went to the eye doctor Tuesday. They told me that I may have scratched it, taken out my contact, and I couldn't wear a contact in my right eye for the rest of the week. And so I had to rock an eye patch from Tuesday through today.
I'm jealous.
Yes, everybody called me a pirate the last few days.
I took some photos of that.
Yeah, wasn't that much fun. But dude, you wouldn't believe how much for granted, even myself I took of my vision. And so, losing an eye for a couple of days, it was put a whole new perspective, and I'll be a lot more careful when taking out my contacts going forward. So,
well, just don't be stupid about it.
Did you have your nails long? Because I got contacts, and sometimes if your nails are too long, you scratch your eye. Is that what happened?
I don't know. I mean, I think it could have been that. I think it could have like the lens itself, because I have rigid, hard contact lenses, and so I think that may have, done that. But anyway, so anything new going on with you guys this week?
No.
Crickets.
I don't think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get into some news. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying I'm just kind of pumped because that picture that I sent you, that showed up yesterday, some of it, and I finally got back into messing with stuff. And for the time being, I'm done building because I can't get anything else in stock. But yeah, pretty pumped because I'm finally getting my setup the way I want it.
You're gonna actually write a song?
I've been working on stuff off and on, and then I kept on getting sidetracked, whether it was computer-related problems or software or just rearranging all the hardware. I'll send you the same thing I sent John. But basically, I had like a ton of stuff, and you've seen it before, Dan. But I had like a ton of gear that's just been sitting here that I don't use, so I've been slowly selling everything off so that I can get like the setup that I want,
or more gear that you won't use.
Yeah, you hold your tongue, boy.
No, I did. It's funny. Like Buddha and I both have, some pretty nice equipment. And then so Buddha and I are using like these rough studio setups, and then Dan's using his smartphone. So it just goes to show you like how much technology we have all this money in, and Dan sounds pretty much almost the same as we do.
And that's something. Yep.
But so, all right. Well, we'll get into some news here. I don't have a lot today. Not a whole lot of headlines really interested me, but 6 people killed, 133 vehicle pileup on I-35 West in Fort Worth, Texas, icy roads. Here in Cleveland, Ohio, Just seems like a normal Monday,
Dude,
February Monday morning.
Do you remember, like, was it last year or a couple years ago when there was like a 30 car pileup on like 422 or something like that? And
I
it
do
was
remember
just-
that.
You remember that? It just
Yep.
like it locked traffic down for like the whole day.
Yeah.
God,
So-
What was bad about-
it's just
ahead.
just so dumb.
Well, I saw the pictures of that one, John, and I'm sure you're looking at it because I just saw that, read about it today. It was one of those middle lanes where there's a barrier on both sides. And so those people just had to go right into each other. They had nowhere to go. They couldn't even veer off the side of the road.
I haven't seen it yet, but is it as bad as a snowstorm or ice or whatnot that we get here, or is it something that people from Cleveland would be like, eh?
It would be something people in Cleveland would be like, "What's the big deal?" They'd be going 90 on it, not having problems, because it was, because it was Texas. But it was the way that the freeway was too. I mean, I saw the video, and these cars are just like a bad movie. They're just smashing right into each other, one after another. Semi trucks just crunching cars up. It was bad.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the point when it gets dangerous. Like, people in general are stupid, but like the chances of surviving a car crash is pretty high. But when you start involving semis that literally just based on physics alone just cannot stop, or people cut them off and like you can't stop on a dime,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So in other news, scientists, they teach pigs how to play a video game, and the pigs are actually pretty good at it. So,
half of them are on Twitch.
So I guess the experiment involved the scientists teaching pigs how to manipulate a joystick using their snouts, and a lot of the pigs performed the tasks very well. They were rewarded with food or verbal encouragement.
God, this is literally just riddled with jokes in poor taste right now.
Well,
All right.
Isn't
It could be.
pigs supposed to be intelligent?
Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
have you seen videos of like? I feel bad where I eat a lot of chicken, but where like they'll show like how intelligent some of these animals are, even like chickens, like, and they get like emotionally attached to humans, and then I'm like, oh man, I feel terrible.
Do you ever see like the videos of like the cows crying like when they're sitting on the truck?
Oh God,
No.
Yeah, it's terrible. That's shit's
I
heartbreaking.
don't want to see that.
But
Meanwhile-
did you ever? More importantly, did you see the video of the dog driving a stick shift?
no.
Because they did that a couple of years ago. I think that was in the UK. They taught a dog how to drive a stick shift.
Man,
I saw a dog driving a car, and I didn't know it actually was a stick shift. Wow.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it wasn't a stick shift. Maybe
But
I
they
got
showed
a
him driving
little
the car.
I was gonna
overzealous.
say
I was, I was like, how the hell is he?
I think I literally meant just a car. Yeah, not a stick shift.
we got lawyer cats, dogs driving cars.
A stick shift, better yet, man. That would be something. Boy, you have to figure the clutch out, and wow.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, there's also the one of the elephant that paints pictures.
Yeah, I saw that
I
one.
heard that one.
And then
yeah.
also elephants listening. There's that one piano player who plays the pianos next to elephants, and they really enjoy the classical music.
They have that with the cows too. They like horns.
Oh, really?
Not a joke. Like they go there and play horns, like
They just-
saxophone or whatever, and they all just come up to the fence and just kind of herd around this dude and just hang out.
Imagine if Bill Clinton showed up playing the saxophone.
Oh God, he'd probably get a little handsy.
All right. In other
We know
news,
he likes them beastly ones.
All right. In other news, McDonald's strongly encouraging restaurants to prevent Happy Meal Pokemon card scalping. So, I guess
That's really a thing?
still a thing, man. And so I guess McDonald's is giving away Pokemon cards and Happy Meals or something. You're gonna get like the bots, but like just these guys that just show up and buy like 500 Happy Meals.
Right. I actually I saw this thing totally unrelated, but with all the farmers like essentially not having, not getting, not selling crops just because of everything being shut down, Burger King went and bought like an additional 200 tons of potatoes and then just handed out bags of potatoes with like every meal just so they could buy help the farmers. I thought that was actually kind of cool from a giant corporation.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But then I asked Natalie, and she's like, "What the hell am I going to do with potatoes?" She's like, "You better throw that thing in the fryer."
And got two more things here. Alpha Centauri, the star closest to Earth. Scientists may have found a planet orbiting that. So it's a binary star system, considering that consists of both Centauri A and B. So
I feel like they talk about, like, every year they're like, "We found a new planet," and then like you just hear nothing about it ever again.
Well, I mean, there's 9 planets just going around this one sun, and there's nothing going on with any of them. So, from what we know, so it's got to be.
True.
I mean, scale that in, with how close to infinite the universe is, and a lot of, wasted space out there. Okay, and then the other thing I saw here recently, and I don't have a headline for it, but I was going to bring this up, is that that I saw a story that scientists, or mainly scientists that are looking into the environment and global climate change, are rallying for further lockdowns around climate change. And so right now we're, facing lockdowns and restrictions and curfews due to COVID. And some climate, climatologists, people that watch the climate, the global, climate change,
Al Gore,
are suggesting that potentially imposing lockdowns around climate change. So another interesting development there.
Yeah, because what's better than letting people be free, locking them down?
Well, and I just don't understand. Like, we read that article last week that said the planet cooled because of less pollutants in the air, but then we also say that global warming's happening because of pollutants in the air. I just don't feel like we're getting a straight story either way. It's just,
Are you surprised?
Well, no, it's just really confusing. So I don't know.
Well, I got something, if because I like cool shit with like animals and stuff. So South American scientists unearthed skull of an ancient 12-foot tall ground sloth. So just picture
12 feet tall.
Yeah, picture a sloth. They said it's about the size of a bull elephant.
What?
Dating back approximately 3.5 million years ago. They found it in Argentina. Remember we were talking about like all of these places in like South America and stuff, which are kind of like hotbeds for fossils pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think when we had talked about that, we were saying like it's not so much developed, over the past 30 years, but before then, but as it's being more developed and they're digging in all these areas, they're just like finding treasure troves of fossils.
Well, and how deep are they finding these? Like, how deep do you have to go to find, a 30? How many million year old did you say?
3.5 million.
Like, how deep do you have to go to find a 3.5 million year old fossil?
I guess I would think it would depend on the landscape. Like, if you're somewhere that I would say, and this is purely not, with no expertise at all, but I would think like somewhere that has like a shifting landscape, like a desert, which can be like heavily impacted just by windstorm or sandstorm type things, just kind of shifting and reburying and then uncovering certain areas just because the ground being loose sand. I would think that the probability of that being more buried or less buried would vary much more in an area like that, as opposed to like in Ohio, like it's fairly like stagnant the way it is. We don't have rock slides. We don't, we don't have we just have plain flat land for the most part that you don't really have to mess with.
Yeah, true.
But then again, if it's somewhere around like riverbeds, where erosion can just eat away everything on the banks, and then possibly something gets washed away and then washed back up on shore somewhere else, or close to, But I for some reason, like the whole, I don't even know what the proper era of these animals would be, but like when they start talking about, dire wolves, saber-toothed tigers, like stuff like that, I guess it says most of those animals perished in the Ice Age, so I don't know what the actual period of time that was, but I find that one to be so fascinating just because like all of these animals that are just freaking massive and like without dinosaurs,
Yeah.
like I just think I don't know, to me that's just super fascinating. I guess I don't really have like a solid reason why. I like animals. They're fucking cool.
You're an animal.
I am. I try.
All right, Dan, what you got for us tonight?
Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to go for a unsolved murder mystery. This happened well, first off, have either of you heard of Lake Bodom murders?
Negative.
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. All right, well, it didn't even happen in this country. It happened in Finland. It happened June 5th, 1960. And once I start kind of going over the very immediate details, you should instantly know what movie this sort of sounds like, or based on, but it's not actually based on it. But anyway, so June 5th, 1960, two 15-year-old girls, and I'm going to completely destroy their names here, Mila Bjorklund and Nanja Mackie. I probably destroyed those names. And their boyfriends, 18-year-old Seppo Boisman and Niles Gustafsson. They set out to this Lake Bodom to go camping for a night. Well, they set up camp, had a good, I guess the evening everything was normal, everything was fine. Somewhere around the time of between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. On June 5th, a unknown assailant stabbed and bludgeoned to death these teenagers. Now the girls were dead. They were killed, and so was the one boyfriend. Niles Gustafsson was injured. He had a concussion, a broken jaw, but he did survive. He survived the attack. Now, the story gets interesting because, first off, there were some witnesses that saw what was going on here. For example, a group of boys around 6 a.m. that were bird watching some distance away, they reportedly saw a blonde man walking away from the site, which could have been the attacker. The gentleman that lived, Niles, he said the person they were cloaked in black with bright red, and that was a description. So I don't quite know if that means they had a cloak on or what he was trying to say, but he was basically mostly in black from what he could see. So the first thing is police get there. Niles does survive. He lives through his injuries. There's immediately the suspects. So the first suspect is a man named Vladimir Glystrom. I probably destroyed that name. He was a local kiosk keeper that was known to be very hostile toward all the campers in the area. Did not like them being there, threatened them, threw things at them, just hated them being there. He was considered a suspect. And in 1972, he actually drowned in Lake Bodom, which they said was most likely by suicide. He even left a suicide note. However, the police just kind of disregarded this and said this was just a disturbed man. They did not feel that he was a suspect. And it was the suspicion was completely annihilated when his wife came right out and said, he was in bed with me when these murders took place. So, I mean, I don't think she would make that up. So I'm assuming that is most likely the case with that. They just said he was disturbed, and some of the stuff he made in the confession also didn't really kind of match up to what happened. Still very strange how he committed suicide, though. But that's one of the suspects.
I don't know. How do you drown yourself?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, people that burn themselves alive or drown themselves, like, that's got to be such a,
I know a lot of times, not in this guy's case, but a lot of people tie something to their ankle and just go right down to the bottom so they can't swim up.
But your body's like, if your body's working off of muscle or not, what do they call that? Involuntary, like, muscle breathing is, you're not doing it electively. Your body's trying to do it. So the fact that like you do that forcefully to yourself, it's got to be like really, it's just very psychologically damaging in the last few minutes of your life. I mean, I know you're dying, but it's just crazy to
Right.
think, I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely. The other suspect, this guy's name, it looks like Hans Assman is what it looks like. It's not Assman. It's
I know I'm looking
Assman.
at Osman, Assmann.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the guy, the license plate from Seinfeld.
Yeah, right.
Or Billy Gunn.
Right?
Right. Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah. So he was from Germany, and he actually showed up the morning of June 6th at a hospital with bloody clothes on. And there was some speculation. He lived nearby. He lived very close to Lake Bodom, and there were some theories that he was the murderer. However, the police dismissed him as well, saying that he was in Germany during the time of the murder, and or during the time of another murder, but that was his alibi. He had an alibi for that night, and they dismissed him. It gets a little strange, though. First off, one weird thing about this was there were some items missing. Weird items. The keys to their mopeds, or not mopeds, but motorcycles, were missing. However, the motorcycles were there. Niall's shoes were found real far away from the actual murder site. So, things like that were a little strange. Now, it gets weird because Niall's, 2004, this guy's obviously a lot older. He gets arrested and the trial comes up. They suspect this guy might have actually did this. They're saying that him and the other dude got into an argument, and which would have caused the jaw being broken and some of the other injuries. And in a drunken rage, Niles just killed everybody. Though, and it kind of, it could make kind of some sense. However, that still doesn't explain the blonde man walking away with what the kids said they saw, and some of the other stuff. So, but in 2005, so he went on trial for this. And 2005, he was acquitted of all the charges. And the court explained the verdict is, due to the prosecution evidence being inconclusive. So there was basically failure to show that he had any kind of motive appropriate to the crime, So there was just not enough motive there for him to do it. Plus, the state of Finland actually paid him a decent amount of money for mental suffering that was caused by that whole, thing that they put the guy through. So even though he, you wonder about his motives, but really there is no motive from what they said. That's why the court dismissed him. So to this day, and of course, I think you guys didn't take long to figure out what movie this sounds like, right?
No. No, what?
Really?
Yeah, no.
It's a bunch of teenagers getting murdered by a knife-wielding maniac on a campsite.
Jason?
Yeah, Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
He had a machete and a hockey mask.
That's true. Well, okay, it's not exactly like it, but it's still.
And he
it's
clearly
similar.
wasn't from Finland.
And yes.
No shit. Anyway, but
Jason Voorhees.
So wait, are you trying to tell me that the only similarities were that some teenagers got killed and you expected us to think of the movie? There was no hockey mask, there was no machete, and they were in America.
Well, not only that, but they
was
were
a lake.
Well, yeah, but there was Camp Crystal Lake. Like, it was an actual camp, like, for kids to go to.
Well, that was a camp, kind of a campground. But if you look it up,
Not the same,
all
Dan.
jokes aside, all jokes aside,
Dude, he just flatlined on that one.
All jokes aside, they do consider this, though. If you look it up, the Friday the 13th movie franchise does get connected with this whole Lake Bodom. And of course, the producers said there was absolutely no, inspiration at all for making the movie. It wasn't based on anything of what happened then. That predated it by 30 years? I think the movie came out 80, Friday the 13th.
I think
Yeah,
the
it
first
was
one
something like that.
1980 or something like that.
Yeah, so they of course said it had nothing to do with it. They had no, and it might not be, because you guys are right. There's not a whole lot of similarity to it, but just the point of someone getting, I mean, it wasn't a machete, but it was a knife, unknown attacker stabbed and killed these teenagers. So it just, those parts of it kind of sound a little like on a campground lake, which sound like Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
But to this day, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just say, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. So, but to this day, it's an unsolved mystery, and they still do not know. I mean, other than those suspects, which the police have really dismissed all the potential suspects, it's still an unsolved mystery, and it's a weird one. I mean, especially when you think of how horrible that had to be for those kids to get murdered like that in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I just my guess is that, like, it was just somebody random in the area. It just looks like a random act. It doesn't seem like it would be a premeditated thing. Even you talk about like the guy that would
Survived.
Gilstrom, the guy that's attacking campers and I'm reading here on the Wikipedia article on it. It's saying
that guy, Vladimir.
They said that he would cut down the tents and throw stuff at the tents and
right.
But I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't seem something premeditated.
You know what though, which is, I don't know how crazy it is in Finland, but like here, I mean, they didn't have like any departments that could talk back and forth until around like the Ted Bundy. So that was what, the 70s? No, or when was he?
Yeah, 70s.
That was 70s?
Late 70s,
okay.
Yep.
So just like think about that. So that dude could have done, I don't know how big Finland is because I'm an ignorant American, but like just think about, at least for comparison in America, like you could do something in one state and then jump to another state and commit the same crime, and there was no organization or no communication between any of the police departments. So like, the whole idea of serial killers wasn't really a thing for them traveling across country because they had no database in which to compare or, common methods or anything like that. Like that could have been happening over there in Finland. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Finland's pretty small as a country.
I think it is too.
Well, that's Sweden, why it took, right? It took what, 30, almost 40 years to find the Golden State Killer because, there was no databases. I mean, you make a good point and a good connection there.
I wonder if they think he was the Zodiac Killer, or they were thinking at some point he was the Zodiac Killer.
I mean, very well could be.
But getting back real quick to this Lake Bodom, and kind of what Buddha was just kind of piggybacking on what he said, the other problem with this was they did not preserve the crime scene at all. Cops and everybody were all over the place. They had the army going there to look for, search dogs, and people were all trampling the crime scene area, which now looking back at it was a terrible error to do, but they didn't really know that good. They didn't know that stuff back then,
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, so, the size of Finland is like surface area. I think it said is 130,000 square miles. So it's like about a state, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if you were to just stretch out something, say it's about the size of North and South Dakota together. It's not that big, but say it's about that. That's about how big it would be.
It's near Sweden, right?
It's right next to it.
It's right next to it. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I'm trying to find like when modern forensics, like, I mean, I guess they've been doing forensic science since, like the late 1800s.
Dude,
but but like when did like some of this stuff, I guess it's always, evolving. So it's hard to really pinpoint like when it became.
I think it really involved in the 80s more than anything. I think that's when the technology and...
Well, yeah, when networking and databases, and I mean, when hospitals were able to connect... I mean, the internet was invented so that hospitals could connect patient records. Am I correct? I'm pretty sure that's why the internet was
I thought it was created for businesses and stuff like that originally, but you could be right.
No, it was for sure made for porn.
Oh. Well, then,
there you go.
There's an abundance of that, I guess.
You know what's crazy, though? Like, the idea of forensics has really always been there, but it was just so far ahead of the capabilities of the technology. Right. It's like they tried, but... And especially because even now in 2021, like how many small towns are just not equipped to do any kind of like... DNA recovery or anything like that. It's more so
send it to the FBI.
Yeah, which is about as reliable as me. So, you know,
Watch these old TV shows where you're like, there's a murder, and like, well, your blood type matches the blood type found here, so that's good enough for us.
Well, they
there was
found-
no DNA.
there was well, dude, I mean, even all the cold cases that get found or that get solved 20 years later by DNA.
Right.
You know, that's how, or even like, what is that like Ancestry or whatever one of them sites is where like you send in your spit or whatever, and then they swab or, they check your DNA and they run it against the database, and they're like finding like suspects from crimes that had, or not suspects, but evidence from crimes. They're matching it to like the DNA that somebody sent in. And then they're like, oh my God, this is someone in your family, and then they end up looking into it more, and they're solving more and more crimes like that now too.
Isn't that how they got the Golden State Killer, John?
Yeah, I think it was,
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was, but yes, that is what it was.
They
That's what I
had
thought.
found a common DNA. I don't know if it was like a DNA strand from a relative that had, done one of those genealogy or genetic find my ancestry backgrounds, and they were able to trace it back from a family member's results.
Didn't that dude like eventually end up kind of admitting it, and then like they just ended up kind of saying that he was crazy though, or like he was senile or something, or was that a different dude? I don't remember. I always get that mixed up.
I'm not sure. I haven't done a whole lot of research into it. I know it's a very famous case, but I haven't done a whole lot of digging into it. But I'm also looking here. The internet was a military experiment that became what it is today, but its first intention was for it to be a resource sharing between scientists. So, and then it evolved into medical records, so that hospitals could share or have access to somebody's medical history without having to have a file mailed or sent.
Wasn't it invented like in the 69 or something like that?
Yeah, I believe 66. It was saying like the first. So,
hang
that's
on.
crazy.
If the internet was invented in 66, and shortly thereafter it was made for transferring medical records and stuff, how come every time you go to a new doctor they still don't have your fucking records?
You have to fill out that piece of paper every single time?
Dude. Oh, that makes me so mad. Why is it my responsibility to get you to transfer my records when I already gave you the okay to transfer my records?
Right.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. Fill out the paperwork. Go. All right, never mind. All right, Buddha, what you got?
All right, so this is actually, it's actually pretty recent, and it's not like anything crazy paranormal or nothing like that. I just actually find it very interesting. So there's a dude, his name is Alexei Navalny, and he is basically, he's a Russian guy that has like this organization that he started, and it's called the Anti-Corruption Foundation. And pretty much what he does is he kind of, on top of investigating like really what's going on in Russia as far as like the bribery and embezzlement and just like basically the state running the country, you know how it is, like, you have the president in charge, Putin, and then you have like these billionaire companies, energy companies or whatnot. Basically just like how it is in the US, where they just keep scratching each other's back and then all the citizens just get screwed. So this dude has been, he has this entire foundation where he basically researches on, how the whole system works and how it's rigged. And so he's been doing this for a while, and he basically makes like YouTube. I don't know. It's not YouTube, but like whatever the Russian equivalent that he uses is. He basically makes videos where he'll go into detail on like all of these different scandals and like how these different like Ponzi scheme things type things work. But on top of that, he just kind of trolls them as well. So like he'll do very informative videos, but then he'll also post like little meme type things in his videos to kind of poke fun at these guys. So that's the background of this. He's basically a dude that's trying to get the general population to, open their eyes and see kind of what's happening in Russia. So, and basically there's been several instances where he's either been like attacked or constantly threatened, just for all of this stuff, talking up against the state and blah, blah, blah. But that's not what the entire thing is about. So basically what happened in August of 2020, he was boarding a plane to go to Moscow. He's on the plane and he just starts feeling like very, very ill, like out of nowhere. He just has no idea what's going on. He goes, he's trying to go to the bathroom. He's just getting sicker and sicker, and they're in mid-flight. And a couple nurses just kind of check on him, take care of him, and they're like, "Hey, we have to do an emergency landing. We don't know what's going on here." So the pilot does an emergency landing, and then there are, sorry, I'm drawing a blank. So they get the EMTs there right as the plane lands. The EMTs come in and they check this guy out, and they're like, "All right, no, this dude needs to go to the hospital. Like something is seriously wrong." So he goes to this hospital, and they start running tests on him. They run in these blood tests, and everything is coming back normal. And they're basically like, "Hey, here's his blood test. Everything's fine. This guy's healthy. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not that he's making it up, but it must not be anything that serious." So his doctor takes a look at these vials and he goes, I don't know, man, something ain't right. So I want to run these tests again. I want to make sure, I think he might be poisoned. And they're like, no, we didn't find any evidence, like everything is fine. So they come back like the next day, and there's like Russian government officials who are basically barring people from being able to see this guy. And they're like stopping who's in the hospital. You can't go talk to him, and basically just blocking off stopping the entire situation from going public. So at this point, they're basically saying like, "Hey, this dude's fine. He'll be fine. All of his tests came back normal. Like, I don't know what you're talking about." So the Germany steps in and says, "All right, we will charter a plane. We'll get this guy over here and we'll take a look at him." So they do that, fly him over to Germany, and they take a look at him and they run these tests, and they're like, "No, this dude is super sick. He was poisoned. I don't understand why none of these Russian tests had, shown anything. This doesn't make any sense." So it turns out that he was actually poisoned with something called Novavax, or I'm sorry, Novichok, if that's how you say it. And what that is it's like a nerve poison, but you can't, like, the only way you can use it, or the only people that have access to it, are like Russian military or Russian government. And that nerve toxin has actually been used for like other assassination attempts and stuff like that. So then they kind of chart. He basically comes out and says, "Hey, you know what? I think the Russian government tried to kill me. I think Putin did this." And of course, so then Putin comes out and denies it, blah, blah, blah. So he makes like another video about it, talking about everything that happened. But he was pretty messed up. He was put into a medically induced coma. He was on a ventilator, almost died. Like he was in pretty rough shape. So after everything is all said and done, and he starts to finally get better, I guess he had to like relearn how to walk again. Like I said, he was on, I don't know like the actual time frame of it, because by the time he got, later on, this is only a year ago, like he's still able to walk around and whatnot. But he ends up saying, "I'm going to go back to Russia, and then I'm going to call out Putin and everybody involved just to kind of let them know." So he flies back to Russia to release this video that he had already been working on prior to this happening. And right as he gets off the plane in Russia, he gets arrested. And they come out to him and they say, "Hey, you violated parole, blah, blah, blah." And it was just like some made up bullshit charge. And basically, like, the charges that he was allegedly on parole for, I guess he were dismissed. Like, they found it wasn't even a real thing. So anyway, they drag him in, and then like protests erupt all over Russia, and they're like, because they're like, hey, this dude is calling out all the corruption, and now he's been poisoned by something that only the Russian military or Russian government uses. And then the cops come out in full force, and now they're like arresting protesters, beating up protesters, and then they start arresting journalists who want to come out and speak out against this stuff. So all that said and done, he goes to trial, and keep in mind, it's just like a bullshit trumped up charge. This dude ends up getting like almost 3 years in jail for an alleged bullshit, like, parole violation charge. And then there was no investigation into him being poisoned. Of course, when they questioned Putin, he just denied it. And I guess they had even come out and said that the only way that stuff gets used is it has to get like the go ahead from the leader in Russia. So I just think that that's pretty interesting because of the fact that it happened within the last year, and it's all because this dude is speaking out against corruption in Russia. And then when he does, he literally gets poisoned by something that's on record being used for assassinations against people that mess with the Russian military or, KGB or whatever. And then when he calls it out, he gets arrested for an alleged parole violation and then gets put in prison. I don't know. To me, it's just like, it's fucked up.
Well, it sums up everything that's going on in the world right now.
Right.
Do they have any idea any evidence of how it got into him? Did something he ate or?
So the only thing that I read was the hotel he was staying at. Mm-hmm. Allegedly, someone must have gone into his hotel room and put like this nerve toxin like on his clothes. I read that it was in his underwear, but I don't know how true that is. But whatever it is just by making contact with your skin, then your body absorbs it. They said that was the most likely way that could have happened was, a time he's go into the hotel, put it on a piece of clothes he knows he's going to be wearing, and then boom, you don't notice it, you feel fine, gets on the plane, and is just becoming violently ill. But I guess there was this guy, Alexander Litvinenko. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Litvinenko. He was he was a former officer of Russian Federal Security and the KGB. And it says after speaking critically about what he saw as corruption with the Russian government, he fled to the UK where he openly spoke out against, Russia and its corruption. And then 6 years after that, he was poisoned by 2 Russians in what was a suspected assassination. So, I mean, it's kind of like...
Isn't it weird? So, like, think about this real quick. Snowden's hiding out in Russia, right?
Right, correct.
And this guy's hiding out in Germany.
No, he went back. He went back to Russia.
Oh, he did? Okay, well, but
yeah,
he did spend time in Germany just to get away from his country. Isn't it weird?
The only reason he went to Germany is because they chartered a plane to actually help him in the hospital.
Well, but what I'm saying is that there's asylum in other countries. Like, so it's like, is anyone really safe anywhere?
No, hell no.
Probably not.
Absolutely not. And that's like, and not to even go on the tangent, but like all of this shit you're seeing and everything that I just said is happening in America right now. And not even just America, it's happening literally everywhere in the world when you speak out against people in power. And like this dude had a legit, like an actual, it's literally called the Anti-Corruption Foundation. And it said, he's been previously attacked by chemical substances. Like in 2017, he was attacked by unknown assailants outside of his office. And it said they sprayed him with green dye, but it was assumed to have been mixed with other components because he ended up going like almost completely blind in one eye. And then when his doctor checked him, they said there was like some type of corrosive substance that was in whatever they sprayed on his face. Like, you know, and once again, he accused the state of orchestrating that attack, and if, you know, it's denied. And then it says he was arrested and imprisoned in 2019. He was hospitalized with severe damage to his eyes and skin. And then what the hospital diagnosed as an allergic reaction, when his personal doctor looked at it, they said it was, you know, probably effects of undetermined chemicals that were used. So, I mean, I guess technically that's a reaction, but it's like they're always trying to cover, oh no, like this dude was clearly dying and like you literally ran blood tests and then you said, no, everything's fine. And then for some reason you felt the need to bring in like Russian officials to bar anyone from coming in the hospital. Like, that's not normal.
No. You know, I was Anonymous posted a video. I think it was Anonymous the other day, or one of the sites that on YouTube, not sites but channels, but basically talking about like how the federal government is going to continue to print money to the point where that money doesn't really mean anything anymore, and then we can't rely on the banks because the dollar won't have any value. So then they'll switch to a federal currency system, which then will be based upon just like your social score. And so they'll distribute, you know, Fed credits and basically just for people that were speaking out against what you're talking about here. It kind of just lends credence to the fact that like we're getting into a place where if you're critical of what's bad in the world or the leadership that we have, I'm having a hard time.
No, I know what you're saying. It's literally happening and people are watching it happen and they're still so fucking naive that they're like, that'll never happen in America. It's literally happening.
It's been
and
happening
has been
for
happening
many
for
years.
20 years,
Decades.
30 years,
Well, I'd say-
my entire life. And it's just now they've become so open about it and so brash. Like they're literally telling you what they're doing and they just don't care. Like they're so complacent, you know, and I don't know. I mean, what do you do at that point?
No, and you make a good point. It's like if they continue to drive the value of the dollar down, you know, that's why people, you know, a lot of investors are liking Bitcoin and gold is because, you know, at that point, gold is, you know, if you own gold, you can't make it go away and it still holds its value. Bitcoin is not regulated. And so, and it also has a ledger. And so, you know, they can't regulate that either. And so they're trying to get rid of things like that and, you know, distribute a federal currency that is based on social score. And, you know, if you spend that federal currency or federal credit on something that they don't like, you get less federal credit the next time that they hand out some.
Well, that's the same reason that you have dipshits like Nancy Pelosi coming out pushing for a digital dollar, because if they don't like what you're doing, poof, everything
they
you
can
have
trace
is
everything
gone.
you're doing.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just it's ridiculous. I mean, dude, the US dollar is utterly fucking worthless. I mean, they said they printed like 30-40% of all US dollars ever in this past year. Like
30%.
like 30 or 40%, I don't remember the exact amount, but of all US dollars was printed last year. That's insane.
Ever made?
Ever. Like all inclusive, yes.
And
Like
that,
you
and
can't
that include like so if I understand this correctly, what you're saying is for every serialized dollar that's ever been printed, 30% of them in the history of the dollar were printed this year.
Yes.
So the ones that were turned back in, it counts against that. Like that were turned back in and destroyed because of like quality and age.
Wait.
Like
Say that.
so okay, like 20 years ago, they printed a dollar, right? It has a serial number of, you know, XXX 35. And then this year it's YYY 40. That one that was printed 20 years ago was turned back in and destroyed because, you know, it got torn and worn down and whatnot. So you're saying that 30% of all dollars printed, even the ones back in like 20 years ago, those that 30% was printed toward against that.
I don't know if I fully understand the question that you're asking, but I think let me rephrase it. I believe what they are saying is 30% of the value of dollars printed were printed last year. I don't know that it means physical bills.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Like if that makes sense.
That I was going more against like the physical bills and saying
No, I think it means of like the value printed.
Gotcha.
But I mean, dude, and I don't want to harp on this because I know everybody is just super, super sick of talking about anything political. But it goes hand in hand with the story.
But the problem with that is that like, yeah, people are tired of talking about it. But what like nobody, we're just stuck in this feedback loop, and people are going crazy.
Dude, and you know what is truly amazing to me is America is so pathetic as a country, and it shows because over this last year, how they've all just laid down and take it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's fucking mind-boggling to me.
The question is though, what the bottom line is, what are people supposed to do? Are they supposed to do a revolt against the government? And where do you take the common person that has a family, kids, and they should, and your guys are making great points. They should be worried about this stuff. I'm worried about this stuff, which you guys are saying. But where do you take, I don't think there's that much bravery in this country, huh?
Well, where do you even take where do you take the point of like having the government having your best interests against like their best interest? And so
never, ever.
Well, I mean, some would argue that, and so like that's where you make a good point. It's like, yeah, Dan's saying, well, I have a family, I have children, do I risk what situation I have now, whether it be, a moderately okay one versus one that could be worse if I stand up and say that this is not right,
That's basically, it's kind of like what I am saying. It's just, I don't, the only thing I think is ever going to change, I don't know if it'll ever change in our lifetime, to be honest, but I think, and I've said this before, at least when getting into like, I'm not going to get into politics either, because I know, like you said, but I think as time goes on and all these ancient fucks die off, and I don't care what side of the party you're on, Republican, Democrat, once these people start croaking and you start getting young, fresh blood in there, I think I'm not saying it's going to be utopia. I don't think things are going to be perfect, but I think things can have a potential because like the way we're thinking, a lot of people in this age group are thinking this way, like my age and definitely your guys' age, so I think as time goes on, things can now they're not going to be perfect.
Well, let me give you a rebuttal. Let me give you a rebuttal to your argument because, when you talk about stuff like that, and it's a solid argument for term limits for Congress, but here's the problem. If you start factoring in term limits for Congress with people that, whether you believe, like you said, whichever side you lie on, it doesn't matter. It's the point that if you want to start talking about term limits because people have been in Congress for 40, 50 years, okay, the damage is fucking done. The problem is the people that are young, that are very radical, that literally are just fucking clueless, and Congress is full of them right now. Those are the people that are just starting out that can be there for 40, 50 years. So the problem is the normal everyday person who may have thoughts against what they say, they get fucking chastised for even thinking differently. So then they just go, fuck it, I'm not going to vote. Or, fuck it, I don't want to deal with that. You'd have to be nuts to be in politics. So these fucking radical idiots keep getting reelected because the people that live in those areas are just too fucking stupid to think that anything change would be good. It's like, or they just don't care enough to vote, so they just get reelected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's on both sides too. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And like, right. and that's the thing is like, at this point, it's like, if you throw an opinion that is slightly one direction, you get lumped into that group, and it's not like that. I mean, what happened to just good old fashioned people having a conversation or riding the middle. You know, it's like
Right.
you could say, "Oh, well, I like having a handgun." Well, you're on the right. You're on the right.
Right.
Or, well, I think that people should be able to go to bed with whoever they want. Oh, you're on the left. You're a far left. Right? It's like, no, it's not.
Well, that's the media. That's 100% the media.
Plus
And then these other-
brainwashing.
It is. No, it is. And it's these people that just parrot the same stupid shit because they're too fucking stupid to actually take a second and possibly research something themselves. They just say, oh, well, I saw this on the news. And then if you saw it on a different news outlet that may be like, you know, a different opinion, well, then you already hate each other because one of you is a
Right.
liar. Instead of
Right.
like finding what actually is real and then what the common theme is, and then going, oh, wait, well, that's what happened, but that person spun it. Or, oh, shit, the one that I'm looking at actually spun it. That's not cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's always just, I don't like them. They don't like me. We're never going to see eye to eye. Whereas, like, if you go out in public and talk to normal people, like, everybody has differences, but
Right.
it's cool if you have a different opinion. It's okay.
Right.
I don't hate you because of it, but
Right.
it's so just like hyperbolic and just like it's just so blown out of proportion in the media.
And here's the thing real quick too. You know, John made a great point. You go back 30, 40, 50 years ago. Yeah, Republicans and Democrats always had their differences, of course. But like you just said, Buddha, you weren't a piece of crap. You weren't a piece of shit because you're a Republican or vice versa. You said, oh, I don't agree with your way of thinking, but hey, that's my opinion. That's your opinion. Let's go on with life.
I think
And
even so in the last 30 or 40 years, though, you know, people have become less classy. And so they may have thought that way, but they never actually said it. People are actually saying that now.
And the
But that's
reason
because
is,
you have mainstream news outlets saying that kind of stuff.
that's the reason. That's where I was going with it. The whole thing is the reason that this has gotten, but I think it's gotten much worse in the last 15, 20 years, but it's gotten that way because of one reason. The internet. It's as simple as that. The internet has I don't care what anybody, I'll argue until I die, that the internet it's got its good points, it's got its great things, but the internet helps brainwash the society with whatever they want to see, whatever. If you didn't have the internet brainwashing people on both sides of the aisle, okay, you would still have people. I mean, you'd still have people that weren't classy, and you would have all that stuff. But it wouldn't be at the extent it is now. Because like Buddha just said, everything is at your fingertips. Everybody can post what they want on there, and people are so brainwashed anymore.
They give
it'll
us
never get any better.
We have a platform because of it. You know what I
We
mean?
do.
And
I'm not,
go ahead.
Well, let's say the problem is like there's that confirmation bias where like I heard something and I saw something that some random guy on the internet said, oh, but he said it too, so it must be true. Like
Right.
there's that, and like I don't like this news. Let me flip over to another news outlet that may spin the story in my favor, and then I can say that other one is a liar.
Well, and,
And
and I think about like things even right now. Okay, they are they're currently impeaching Trump for a second time. How much money is that costing the American people?
well, the first one was 30 million.
And so $30 million wasted.
I'll do you one better. Here you go. Biden is calling for a vaccine awareness campaign, and he's planning to spend $1 billion on it. Motherfucker, first of all, fuck you. Okay. Second of all, if you don't know that COVID is a thing and has been a thing, and you've been alive for the last year, and you haven't heard of the fucking vaccine, you probably haven't been alive. You're dumb as fuck. Like, you're just living under a rock. So that being said, now you want to pump $1 billion
Quick
of
story,
taxpayer.
Quick story real quick. A funny story though, back when this first started, there was a guy from Australia that went sailing for 4 months, came back into port, and they were like, where have you been the last 4 months? Oh, on the boat. He's like, you realize the world's on a pandemic right now. And the guy came back and he was like, he couldn't believe it, like all the stuff that had happened because he was disconnected for 4 months. Anyway, go.
No, it's just the fact that they're so hesitant about spending money on anything that matters, but the second they could piss it away because it's not their money, it's taxpayer money, it's printed bullshit money that's not worth anything, They just go, oh, here's $1 billion. Oh, here's $1 billion to some other country to fucking watch some goddamn lizards walk on a treadmill. Like, there's that. Like, and I'm not joking. Like, that's a real study. There's Sri Lanka can get speedboats. Cool. Like, that was literally in the COVID relief bill. And then they said, okay, some Americans, here's $600. How about fuck your stimulus and you let people open back up the economy? Because if you're getting paid money and you have nowhere to spend it and you can't put that back into your economy, what is the point of having any money?
Yeah. It's just, I mean,
I'll get off my soapbox. We dragged this out too long.
I know. It's, I mean,
You know, I'm very passionate about this shit.
Well, but you make you have good points there, and it's just the fact is like, why are we spending money to impeach this guy for a second time? I mean, you know, whether you support him or you don't support him, and I won't sit here and say, you know, whether you do or don't is right or wrong. The fact of the matter is the guy left office 3 weeks ago. There's no way, given what's happened in the last 6 to 9 months, that even if he did run again independently, there's probably no chance that he would ever get reelected, even as an independent. And if he did, it would shock the system into like another crazy election. And
do you want to know I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
And it's just, why waste the money? Why not put it towards something of value? I just don't see the value in it. I really don't.
Something just real quick, and then I'll jump off it. One thing because I asked that same question, why there's no way in hell he's going to ever get reelected. So why even waste your time? And I read an article that said one of the reasons is, well, they were worried about him getting reelected. But did you know that all presidents can get daily what do you call them? Reports.
Intelligence.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. Intelligence reports. So if he is impeached, he can never get those reports. And they're worried about him getting his hands on those reports and doing something with them against the country is what they're worried about.
No, they're just worried about him breaking up their game. That's what it is.
Well, I mean,
that'll never happen again. It's over for him. So.
But even so, like, if he forms his own news network, I think he's learned in the last, 3 weeks that his silence means more. You know, like, when he speaks now, it's going to mean more than what he was tweeting every 25 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, like, the fact that he's been silent the last 3 weeks, people are, wondering, well, what's he going to say when he finally does speak out? And, right. It could be something of, big proportion, or it could be nothing. Who knows? I don't know. All I know is that, like I said, it just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of value behind that. It seems like money that we talk about money going into social programs and whatnot. Like, if they're going to spend $1 billion to educate people on the virus, which has been just so overly communicated through news, video, print, audio, there's books about the pandemic already. It hasn't even been a full year.
Oh, yeah, but
why would they need to spend $1 billion? Put the $1 billion into some of these social programs that people are talking that they need money for. I just don't.
I have 3 more things I want to say, and then I want to move on. First of all, anyone that thinks the bipartisan system is a way to continue on is a fucking moron. There's 330 million people in this country, and if you haven't paid attention the last month, they are split almost down the middle for the amount of people that voted. Whether you believe that or not, it doesn't matter. The point is, you always have one side in power and another side that is all pissy about it. And whichever side you're on, it doesn't matter. The point is, you're a fucking idiot if you think that 330 million people should be governed by one body that follows one set of fucking ideals. That this whole government shit is fucked. But that's beside the point. The second point is...
You mute your mic when you clear your throat, goddammit.
Sorry.
I'm joking.
The second point is, anytime the government takes control of an organization or whatever foundation, they just fuck it up. Who the hell... If I ran a business And every year I accumulated trillions of dollars of more debt. My business would not exist. But yet every year we accumulate trillions of dollars more of debt. Like, why the fuck would you put them more power of social programs? Like, that is just utterly ridiculous in any program at all, especially because if people aren't using their own money, they don't care how much they spend. That's why they spend taxpayer money. And the last thing that I'm going to say, we have now been through 2 administrations, one Democrat, one Republican. Flint, Michigan still doesn't have any fucking water. You are fucking up. Your government is bullshit. Open your fucking eyes. I don't understand that. You can't sit here and say, put more money in social programs when it has literally been years and Flint still doesn't have any water. It has literally been years and the war in Yemen is still going on and it's now been through multiple administrations. That shit is not over. Stop giving them more money. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah, and like I said, $1 billion towards educating people on the virus when a community in this country doesn't have water is despicable. Absolutely despicable.
They still really don't have that fixed, huh? That's crazy. I thought that was taken care of.
No, they don't give a shit.
Wow.
But anyway, John, what do you got? Sorry about the tangent.
We have the most views while we were doing that. Okay, so have you guys ever heard of the Three Kings ritual?
No.
All right, so this is on the paranormal side of things. And it's similar to, obviously, we're of the generation of Bloody Mary. You remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so very similar to that, but this came about, I think, around the year 2013, where a Redditor named Fable Forge in the No Sleep subreddit posted a thread about this. And he talks about communicating with the shadow side. So to do the Three Kings ritual, it says, what do you need? Well, a very large, empty, quiet room, preferably without windows. If there aren't any windows in the room, you'll need to block them off. A pack of candles. You'll only need to use one, and a lighter. A bucket of water and a mug. A fan. 2 large mirrors. 3 chairs. An alarm clock. An active cell phone. And a loved one willing to follow the rules and go along with all the madness. And a small toy or dear object from your childhood. It says, all right, so here's how you do the ritual. Around 11 p.m., place 1 chair in the center of the room facing the north. Place the other 2 chairs exactly to the left and the right, facing your throne. The distance between your throne, and that of your queen and fool should be about the length of your arm to each side, more or less. The next, place the 2 mirrors on the queen and the fool's chairs to the left and right of you. Try your best to have them stand at 90 degrees. And if you sit on the throne facing straight ahead, you should be able to perceive your own reflection in each of the mirrors. Place the bucket of water in the mug in front of you, just barely out of reach. Place the fan behind you, turn it on. Don't set it to maximum power, medium or low is usually enough, and leave it on. Turn off the lights, leave the door open, and go to your bedroom. Set the candles by the side of the bed next to the lighter. Your alarm clock and your cell phone, leave it charging. Set the alarm for 3:30 a.m. Turn off the lights and sleep while holding your power object and get some rest. All right, so once you do all of that, 3:30 a.m., wake up at 3:30 a.m. with your alarm clock. Turn it off, but don't turn on the light. You have exactly 3 minutes to light your candle, grab your phone, and make your way to the dark room and sit on your throne. You should be seated by 3:33 a.m. Don't forget your power object. Check the potential red flags. If your cell phone didn't charge for whatever reason, abort the mission. If your alarm clock didn't go off at exactly 3:30 a.m., abort the mission. And if you find the dark room door closed, remember, you left it open, abort the mission. If the fan is turned off, abort the mission. If all's going as planned, you can proceed and take your throne. Do not look directly at either of the two mirrors beside you. Do not let the candle go out. The fan is behind you. You must protect the candle with your body, which is standing in between. Look straight ahead at the darkness, not the candle, not the mirrors, just straight ahead. Eagle-eyed readers surely noticed. I didn't say during the setup, which the chair. Sorry, reading this here. So, basically, after a while, you also have to have somebody waiting outside your room, and let's see here. Where's my notes? Sorry, I lost my place. So here, sorry, dang it, I lost my place.
Man, for all that stuff you got to do, you better see something pretty damn amazing.
So assuming it's 3:33, all is going to plan. You may now begin the active part of your ritual by asking questions aloud. It may take time, but again, assuming you did everything correctly, you'll soon be joined by your kings. And basically, you can hear. You have an hour to do so, and basically, it's kind of like conjuring up spirits, I guess. And so I have a reaction here that I read that somebody experienced. It says, and this is from Redditor Throwaway Kings, I think. It says, the first few minutes ticked by very slowly with nothing really happening. I stared at the wall, certain I no longer had any grasp of time. I started to feel a disappointment as nothing was happening, but that feeling was immediately replaced with a feeling of deep despair. I don't know how else to explain it besides a complete and utter sadness. It came out of nowhere and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was as soon as I stopped thinking anything would happen, something adamant to convince me otherwise. Out of the corner of my eye, the mirror to my right looked like there were water droplets falling down, like the windshield of a car during a downpour. I felt a tear fall down my cheek. I'm not sure if that was because I was terrified or because of the sheer sadness that filled the room. From my left, I heard a soft and almost comforting shh. From the corner of my eye, I noticed on the mirror that looked lighter somehow. The only way to know how to explain it is that when you turn the brightness up too high on your computer screen. Terrified, I made sure to keep looking forward. No, I heard my own voice saying to me from my right side. It was stern and aggressive. I hesitantly asked, no, what? The voice answered, don't stop crying, you fucking bitch. A few moments after, I continued to hear a soft shh coming from my left side. It continued this way for what it felt like days. The voice from my right side kept insulting me and telling me I was useless. I don't deserve to be alive, a waste of space. The left side, I believe to be the good, outweighed the right side. And so basically what this person was saying is that they heard voices, and they think that this might also be like your conscience, like being audible to you as opposed to like being in your head. Again, I don't know from what I'm reading here, saying that it was in your head. Let's see. There's another reaction. It says, after a few minutes of nothing happening, I hear something from the darkness towards the door. It's a faint singing in a language I can't understand. The blackness turns into a mass of shadows and that look like people. They're all marching from the right to the left. They're on parade. And as they pass, I can't help but feel elated. After a couple of minutes of this going on, I noticed a second noise. From the chair to my right, there was a sound of someone writing something down. It was a scratchy sound, too, like someone using one of old quill pens. I wanted to ask what it was writing down, but I was too afraid of the answer to go through with it, especially when the room was full of moving shadows. Some people have gone into trances. Out of the corner of my eye, the mirror to my right looked like... Oh, that was from the same story. Suddenly the candle started flickering. I'm not talking about a little bit either. I was legitimately getting scared it was going to go out. It looked like it was dancing around and it was casting shadows all around me. Immediately after I felt two distinct mental presences crash into me. From the left side, I felt an overwhelming sense of anger, depression, hate, and what generally felt like an evil incarnate. From the right side was happiness, joy, kindness, and the complete opposite force. It felt like I was no longer one person, but it was instead 3 entities fighting out inside of my body. So instead of like conjuring like a spirit like Bloody Mary, they were saying that basically somebody was conjuring like 2 different types of spirits or entities, and they were both, one was good, one was bad. And so I don't know, things like this, again, like they always interest me, and I can't put a yes or no behind them, but I think it's pretty interesting to think that something like this could actually happen. I don't think I have the cojones to try it out myself, but I don't know. Dan, you want to try it tonight? Let me know how it goes.
Where did it originate from?
It was a post from Reddit on 2013 from let's see, the Redditor's name was Fable Forge. So, but it's like, you know, the fact that like someone's like grab your phone, and so you have the fan, like the part of the thing is like, well, you have the fan to protect if like you drop the candle or fall back asleep or whatnot. The fan will blow out the fire. You also have a bucket of water there in case like, you know, something catches on fire, you can dump that out. And then you also have somebody outside the room as like a lifeline too. I don't know. I mean, I thought it was interesting, and the fact that, again, you know, you have multiple entities around you, I thought was kind of...
It's probably just, you know, there's so much stuff going on, you know, the fire, the candle, you know, shadows off the wall, the fan. You got so much stuff going on there, especially with someone with an overactive imagination. I can just imagine that just, you know, your mind plays so many tricks on you that it's probably just they're expecting something to happen in their mind. You know, it makes it happen, especially with the ambience of the room, the way it's being described. You know,
I guess the thing about it though that is like a little creepy is that generally the stories with the entities, one being extremely angry and negative, and then the other one being very good. The similarities in a lot of the stories there, you know, that's, I guess, the creepy part is that like there are, you know, parallels between a lot of these stories.
I think, I don't know. I think to me, this sounds, well, okay. The paranormal stuff, it's a hard no for me, but I think like the whole point of this is
but dragons are a hard yes.
Hard yes. They make me hard yes.
Oh,
no, I mean, like, I think if anything, this is just kind of like an experiment on your psyche, really. Because think about it, like,
which is what
you're
said,
woken
basically.
up. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. Like, you're woken up out of a dead sleep at the middle of the night. Like, I don't know at what phase of sleep you would be in, but you know how it is. Like, I am a very light sleeper. So, like, any creak in the floor, anything like that, I wake up, but I'm not usually like groggy. Whereas like those nights where you're just passed out, and I don't know if that would be like considered REM, when you're just like super hard dreaming pretty much, and you get woken up and it takes you a minute to orient yourself.
REM is when you're standing in the corner losing your religion.
Oh God.
Sorry, I had to. Sorry.
But you know what I mean? Like, I think really at that point, it's just the idea of abruptly waking you up in the middle of the night in a very unfamiliar, you know, surrounding or situation, and then just kind of seeing how your mind reacts. Because, you know, I mean, we've all been there where you wake up and, you know, maybe you fell asleep on the couch and you didn't realize it, and then you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh, you know, where the hell am I? It takes you a second to get your bearings straight. You know, if you wake up in a pitch black room with a candle, you're going to be like, what the fuck is this? Like,
well, you have the fan and the candle and all the shadows on the wall and everything.
I've got to say, though, lately I've been having a lot of like really strange and bad dreams. Like, I've had a lot of nightmares lately. Some of them, you know, were violent, and it was like, woke up, I'm like, where did that come from? But
if you're talking about violent dreams, do you ever get the dreams where like whatever is happening but you're just absolutely powerless. Like
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're like trying to fight and like you can't because
Spaghetti
Oh.
noodle arms and
yeah,
or
yeah.
like you go to grab the gun and the gun just keeps misfiring or it just doesn't work properly.
Dude, anytime I ever have a dream like that, it's always that. Like I'm never actually capable of doing anything.
What about the dreams that you have? Like, one of they say is like if you have a dream where you lose teeth, you're about to have like money problems, like that old like superstition.
What if you're just making room for them gold teeth?
That's true.
There you go.
Dude, I had have you ever had sleep paralysis?
I have, yeah.
I've had that a couple times. And I was talking to Rob about this actually, because I know I think he had mentioned like he'll get it if he sleeps a certain way. You know, he sleeps like Bela Lugosi as it is.
He does.
But,
he does. He it looks like he could sit straight up at a 90-degree angle and open his
Right.
eyes.
But dude, I've had multiple instances of sleep paralysis where like there's someone else there with me. Has that ever happened to you guys?
Well, I mean, your
Couple
wife's
times.
next to you.
No, I mean like not physically there. Like whatever I'm seeing in the paralysis where you're in like that half asleep, half awake state and you can't move, there's someone else there. Like I'm seeing it. Like the one time I like kind of passed out on the bed. I came home from the gym and I was just really beat up and I kind of passed out. And Natalie was in the kitchen. I don't know if she was like, this was like middle of the day. So she was like making lunch or whatever the hell she was doing. And I was like, you know, you got to that point where like you're trying to wake up and you can't wake up. And there's like just this woman sitting next to me, like while this is happening, but I'm coherent enough that I know what's going on in the room and I can like understand that I need to wake up because this isn't real and there's nothing but I physically can't. And you try to call out and you can't. And like, you're almost like choking. Like, has anything like that ever happened, but with someone
yeah.
else?
I've had it where
Like-
I'm trying to scream and I can't scream.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, do you ever see other people there with you? Not
No.
physically, like not if
I've
Shannon's
never
there.
seen anyone.
Go ahead, Dan.
I was just gonna say I've had the sleep paralysis, but I've never actually, seen. The only thing I've ever had is where I hear like it sounds like a freight train is like right next to me, and then I didn't say a freight train, but just a loud noise, and then as I start getting myself out of it, I kind of pull myself out of it, then it disappears. But I've never actually seen anyone or any shadows or anything.
The
Go ahead, Buddha.
I was gonna say the creepiest thing that I ever had was, Natalie was sleeping in the bed with me, like it was just like middle of the night, and I literally had a dream that I was like on like an altar, like an old school altar, and I was literally like being sacrificed, being like cut, and I was trying to scream and I couldn't scream. And I remember she actually woke me up because she said I was like moaning, but like, you know, very, very slightly. Like, you know how like when dog dreams and they kind of moan?
Yeah.
Like she said I was like that and I was like twitching and stuff. And that's crazy because on the outside, like she just saw that and she was like, oh, he's having a bad dream, and like shook me. But like on the inside, I was literally trying to scream. Like it just, you know, it would not happen. And I was like coherent enough yet again to know that she was there. But at the same time, see the fact that I'm like literally being tortured on this fucking altar. Just creepy shit. Like your
Dude.
mind is so fucked up.
It's funny that you should mention this. So I'm on WebMD right now talking about sleep paralysis, and it says that researchers believe that sleep paralysis is caused by a disturbed rapid eye movement cycle. Mostly happens as people are falling into or coming out of REM. During that stage, their brain normally paralyzes their muscles so they don't act out their dreams. But during sleep paralysis, the sleeper is awake or half awake, and so that's why you cannot move, which is actually makes a lot of sense now as I'm reading this.
I've read that. Yeah, I've read that.
It says studies show that between 25 and 50% of Americans have had sleep paralysis at least once. They think it might be linked between social anxiety or panic disorders, and often the experience is accompanied like by noises like a loud buzzing. So Dan, you're talking about like that loud noise.
Yep.
Or sensations of being dragged out of bed, flying, and or difficulty breathing. In fact, some researchers believe that sleep paralysis is really what's going on with stories of alien abductions. So,
And the shadow people that everyone sees. A lot of times I hear that, you hear these stories of people saying they woke up or they saw a shadow of a old lady or something in the doorway and that, and they say that's all caused by the sleep paralysis, because your eyes are open. You're half asleep. You're in, like you were reading there. That's what I read before, was you're in between the conscious and not conscious state, basically.
right. And reading this now, that makes a lot of sense. That like, well, you might be awake or or conscious, but because you're in between REM, your body is saying like, don't act out what's going on in your dreams, but you're like, no, I'm really awake. So it's, you're half in and half out on both sides of sleep and being awake.
I wonder if that's literally what it's like to be in a coma.
Or a genie in a bottle. My heart is saying, let's go.
God damn it.
Or my body's saying, let's go. My heart is saying no. All right. Sorry.
What about sleepwalking?
Sorry.
I wonder about.
Yeah. We should do some stories on sleepwalking. I'm trying to think of like other ways to like, maybe once a month, like get an expert on a certain field. It'd be interesting to see someone that like is like a sleep scientist and ask them a bunch of questions.
Yeah, but then we'll just sound even more stupid than we already do.
Well, that's okay.
Well, he studies in it, so we're supposed to sound stupid if the guy studies in it.
We're supposed to get our learn on, dude.
Right.
All right, well, that's what I got for this week. So I don't know. Three Kings. You're thinking it's just a trickery of your old mind.
I'd say.
Yep.
Yep. I agree with him. I think it's just that in between the ambience of the room, the way the room was set up. I think that's what it is.
Huh. All right. Well, what do you say we land this plane for this week? You guys good with that?
Yeah, buddy.
I'm good. Yep.
All right. Well, we'll see where we pick this up again next week. Will President or former President Trump be impeached again? We did get the lockdown removed in Ohio today, so that's a good thing. You can stay out past 11 o'clock now, Buddha. That's if you can stay awake.
I can't stay up past 9.
Right. Thanks, Dad.
Governor Dad DeWine. All right, well, for Dan Rady, Steve Gibson, and anyone else that has participated in the Type 3 TV Ecosphere, this is John Budzinski. Type 3 TV, over and out.